Hey, it's Kelly with the Rug MFA, and for a while now, Bree and I have been talking about unputdownable ideas, also known as stakes, and why you need stakes in your story and not just plot. So if you have been getting feedback that's like, it's okay, but I kind of don't care about these characters, or why should I care that they're off on this adventure or that they're doing this thing, it usually means that there are no stakes at play, or that there might be stakes, you just haven't made those stakes evident. Now, I say this because when I was teaching at university, a lot of my students had this same problem. They would write these really intricately crafted worlds, they would write some really cool stuff about what was going on with their characters, but there was no consequence if the character failed or even if they won. And so it was kind of like watching a little moving head go through some scenery and do stuff. Right? You know, it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings, if we don't get rid of the ring, like we're all doomed. Only these books, we didn't have the we're all doomed element to it. So because of that, I started teaching them about stakes and the 11 different stakes that work and what makes a book unputdownable, and it is stakes. And I've now decided to teach this workshop with Bree for you on July 30th. You can RSVP below. And today I'm going to talk to you about what it looks like when you start stacking the stakes. And that's when shit gets really real for the characters. That's when you're up at 3 a.m. and you're almost kind of mad at the author because you really need to go to bed, but you have got to figure out what happens to this character. We're going to go back to Bridgerton, one of my all-time favorite examples to give you. I talk about Bridgerton a lot because I think you've probably seen it, and the writing is great. I mean, we can't beat Shonda. She's amazing, and she does a really good job with these adaptations. These were books, and granted, this is for television, but it's storytelling. And stakes in storytelling, whether we're watching them on screen or whether we're reading them in a book or whether we are writing them ourselves, right? Stakes are stakes are stakes. So let's get into it. All right, so we're going to be talking about season 4, Bridgerton, the best season, where our favorite brother, Benedict, falls in love with a maid. And the first way to stack the stakes is this concept of even when you win, you lose. Even when you win, you lose means that there's no good decision that you can make. So if we think about Bridgerton, set in Regency, London, our favorite brother, Benedict, is obviously as a nobleman, and he has fallen in love with a maid. And that means the only way he can be with this maid is to A, ask her to be his mistress, which he does, and we want to wring his freaking neck. We cannot believe he did it because we love this girl, Sophie. We're like, how dare you do that to her? You jerk. We liked you. You were our favorite. So that falls flat. In his pursuit of love and having this relationship with this woman that he's finally loved, because he has been out free-spiriting, right? He has been out, he's our bisexual brother. He's been out in threesomes. He's been out partying. He was the one that was never going to settle down until he meets this woman. And we're like, whoa. And we can see why, because she's amazing. We love her. We love her a lot, and we can see why he loves her. And we really want him to win. We want her to win. We want this whole thing to work out, but being his mistress is not the answer. So he can't even win in what society allows him to do, which is ask her to be his mistress. And when she flatly refuses him, there's no way that he's going to do that. So then he decides, I'm going to marry her anyway. I'm going to marry her anyway, and we're just going to go live in my country estate. How freaking convenient. But also the cottage, which is like not really a cottage. I mean, it's a little mansion in the woods, right? So he's like, we're just going to go live there. We're going to do that. I'll come back and forth to London. I'll still see the fam. Not much else will change. Only society has problems with that. They're going to say, no, if you choose this path and you marry outside of your class, the consequences to that are exile and banishment. So now the stakes of reputation, which Bree talked about a ton, apply to both of them. He will then now become a pariah. And if his family is known to like really consort with him and maintain a relationship with him because he made this decision, if they don't also exile him, society will exile them. So even when he wins, he loses. And so he's trying desperately to figure out how to win in this situation because we want him to badly. And how is it going to work when every avenue that he has, he doesn't necessarily lose love, but he loses something: standing, family, reputation. There's all these other stakes that start to pile up. No, you can't have what it is that you most want, even though we most want that for him in a bad way and for her because we love her. So the second way that stacking stakes works is when the first consequence that you suffer is just the first domino to fall in a line of consequences. Now we're going to talk about what these stakes look like from Sophie's perspective. We've looked at Benedict and how he's trying to, have a relationship with her as a mistress, to marry her anyway and live in the country. Like, he's trying to figure out these ways to be together. But for Sophie, the stakes are entirely different. She is a maid. If she says yes to becoming his mistress, even though she is in love with him and would love to be with him, then she loses her ability to work as a maid. So if this mistress thing fails, if something happens 6 months from now and he's like, that was fun, and as a nobleman, he's out, she's stuck. She can't go work as a maid. Like, her stakes of then livelihood, her reputation, her financial security, all of that comes into play. So if something there with Benedict fails in the mistress space, she's screwed. Then if you add into that, what if they have a child together? That can happen, right? That happens in these situations. Then not only is she facing potential destitution, potentially losing her reputation and having to go to the Americas maybe and figure out how to do that, but she has to do this now with a child in tow and figure out how to do all of that in a place where being a single mother, in a time period of being a single mother, is you're for the poorhouse, right? You're, at least as a maid, she has options. And with him, the only option that she has with him is to marry him. And that's it. So the stakes of his family and him being exiled from his family don't necessarily apply to her in the marriage space, only that she loves him and she doesn't want that for him. She doesn't want him to have to give up his entire family, because she also loves his family. She has come to know them and she thinks that they're really great. So when you're thinking about these stakes and stacking stakes, you've got this idea of, even when you lose, right? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're in this no-win conundrum until you can resolve it in a way that the world will accept, a way that the world you have created will support. And that's delicious, because you can just make it go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you find that solution that brings us to the end. Then we're like, oh, thank God they made it. After all of that, after all those ups and downs, they made this happen. And the other way is if the first domino falls, it is just the first one to go. And it's like a whole line of stakes and consequences that keep coming back. And in this case, if we can avoid that first domino falling, again, you're kind of trapped in a no-win situation, because you can see, if you make this move, this line of dominoes. If you make this move, this line of dominoes, right? There's no good way out of it. But if we can avoid that first domino in a way that makes it so a character we love doesn't have to make these sacrifices in order to get what they want, it's like, oh, thank God, happily ever after. And that really works well in romance, but it also works great in historical fiction. It works great in many different genres. If we can think about stacking stakes in a way that allows our characters to just have to face a consequence no matter which way they turn, until the door opens for them to walk through as unscathed as possible, right? But the character arc can be delivered through those series of choices that they're making, or that they're trying to make, their growth and their understanding of the world, etc., right? So when we're thinking about stakes, we're thinking about that also as a character path, as a plot propulsionate, and also as a way to just keep your reader absolutely glued to the page if they're damned if they do, damned if they don't, or if that first domino falls and they're screwed. Now, if you want to learn more about this, we are teaching a class July 30th in the box below, RSVP. We would love to have you there. There will be a replay available if you want to learn more about stakes and how you can make your own story unputdownable. We would love to see you there. Thanks.